Let's go with AOC first. She said, apartheid states aren't democracies. It's just so weird. I mean, it really is the end all of this story. It's the way it is every single time. AOC, you have Presley, you have Omar, you have this entire sort of squad element, and it's bigger than just the four of them now. It really has grown to probably 15 or 20 in the Democratic Party that just continually find problems with Israel. Everybody else seems to be fine, but America and Israel, the two places you can always stand up against, that's apparently safe ground for a U.S. congressperson. Mark Ruffalo, who is well known for his portrayal of the Hulk, right? He was great as the Hulk, as we all remember him in that fine series of films. Series of films, right? We all remember that. So Mark Ruffalo, he tweets this: over 30 children killed, mothers dead, hundreds injured. We are on the brink of full-scale war. Sanctions on South Africa helped free its black people. It's time for sanctions on Israel to free Palestinians. Join the call. Gaza under attack. Now, Gaza fired a lot of weapons and a lot of missiles. And I will say, they are crappy enough at doing it that maybe they did fire some that blew up on their own land. But that's the only way Gaza was under attack. When you get hundreds and thousands of missiles falling on your citizens, when you respond to that, that's not an attack. You are responding to someone trying to kill you. This is not that hard, but of course, the Hulk wasn't smart. Like, a guy wasn't known for his brains. That's not what the movies were about. Paris Hilton has chimed in. She came out and she says, this is so heartbreaking. This needs to stop. Save Palestine. Hashtag Gaza under attack. Hashtag stop the genocide. Again, like, I don't know. Is Paris Hilton smarter than we think she is? Maybe, but that doesn't make her smart. And so she did delete that, and then she then posted this: sending love and light around the world, praying for peace to make the world a better place for all. That's much more, greeting cardish, and I think that one's acceptable. Kyrie Irving. Now, Kyrie Irving is a basketball player, if you don't know. He's the guy, when he was on LeBron James' team, he's the guy they gave the ball to in the closing seconds of close games. That was his role, to take all the important shots from the best player in the world. So Kyrie used to do that. Now he bounced around, was on Boston for a while. Now he's on the Nets. And the Nets are trying an experiment out this year in which they take all the best players from the league and put them on one team and see what happens. It seems to be working, kind of, though they can't seem to stay on the court for at the same time. Anyway, so he is kind of best known for his off-the-court activity for being the flat earth guy. The guy, and he tried to back off later and say, I was just coming up with a thought experiment or whatever, but he just he thought the earth was flat until like a week ago, okay? That's who this guy is. He had something to say as well about this important situation in the Middle East.
For me personally, I'm not really, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Like, a lot of stuff is going on in this world, and basketball is just not the most important thing to me right now. There's a lot of stuff going on overseas. All my people are still in bondage all across the world, and there's a lot of dehumanization going on. So, I apologize if I'm not going to be focused on y'all questions. It's just too much going on in the world for me to just be talking about basketball. Like, I focus on this shit 24/7 most of the time, but it's just too much going on in this world not to address. It's sad to see this shit going on. And it's not just in Palestine. It's not just in Israel. It's all over the world, man. And I feel it. I'm very compassionate to all races, all cultures. And to see a lot of different people being discriminated from upon or against being...
My IQ is dropping. Turn it off for a second. He can't quite focus on basketball, guys, because there's too much going on in the world, because he's the difference. You do know this, right? If Kyrie is dribbling, people die. If Kyrie is focused on humanity, then we have a chance to pull through this thing. Hopefully Kyrie can get a couple days off and focus on ending racism. Because I'm sure he's just on the verge of it. If they would just one more day of not caring about his $33 million a year job, and he would have racism defeated. He's so close. Just give him a few more days off. Come on, don't ask him to go play those games. I don't know that it's interesting because these guys are always like, we have to care today about George Floyd. George Floyd. We have to care about him. They never are like, you know what? Give us a day off. We're going to give you back the entire day's salary because this is too important. That's never what happens. They just keep all the money and don't play the games, which is an interesting. I wish I could come up with a deal that would allow me to do that because you know what? I'd find lots of stuff to care about. Okay? I'd never be here. You'd never see my face in front of this stupid camera. I'd be running around saying, "Oh gosh, the spotted eel. You know what's happening to the spotted eel in Lower Oceania town? It's a genocide of these spotted eels. It's terrible. Just can't come to work today, guys. Sorry about that. Anyway, he can't focus on basketball. I will say, with the amount of talent on that team and the way they've played so far this year, I don't think he's been focused on basketball at all. He's got a lot of problems he's dealing with. So hopefully that comes around. Adil Raja. Now, this is a guy who works for CNN, or did work for CNN. He was a freelancer for CNN. When people started bringing up his tweet, they said, we don't know who he is. I've never heard of him before. And then they fired him. Now, it's hard to fire someone who you don't know who they are. But CNN somehow pulled that off, and that's impressive. He had one minor comment. Is this a problem? I don't know. The world today needs a Hitler. That's all he said. That's all he said behind a blue check mark. The world today needs a Hitler. Now, he didn't say which Hitler. Could have been Scott Hitler, the mechanic from Long Island. We don't know which Hitler he was demanding there, but we had an idea. Maybe the same Hitler. Veena Malik was quoting. Now, Veena Malik was a Bollywood actress. She put this tweet, and I don't know, you tell me, can you detect a problem in this in any way? I don't know. She says, quote, I would have killed all the Jews of the world, but I kept some to show the world why I killed them. And then, of course, that quote is attributed to Adolf Hitler. Now, I don't know if Adolf Hitler actually said that. Adolf Hitler is quoted as saying a lot of things, but there's a tone to it that you may have detected. Does not seem to be all that pro-Israel or all that pro-Jewish people. Seems downright negative on the Jews. And people noticed that. She did delete that tweet. But, okay, what about Bella Hadid? Now, Bella Hadid is a model. You may recognize her. I frankly don't, but the name does sound familiar. She says she has a minor issue. Let me give you a little chant she was involved in. Check this out.
The river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea. From the river to the sea. Palestine will be free. Palestine will be free.
Now, you see, Palestine will be free. Throw the Jews into the sea. Now, it does rhyme. I will give her that. It does rhyme. And there's some credit that is deserved there. But it's not that much credit. Apparently, a little bit of a problem for Israel, who tweeted this in response. When celebrities like Bella Hadid advocate for throwing Jews into the sea, they're advocating for the elimination of the Jewish state. This shouldn't be an Israeli-Palestinian issue. This should be a human issue. Shame on you. Honestly, I think she's advocating for a little more than just eliminating the state. Seems like she's not going to be like, you know what? It's okay. Jews can live safely inside of Palestinian state. I don't think that's what she's going for when she's saying throwing them into the sea. I don't think so. And like, you look at Bella Hadid. Do we have the picture of Bella Hadid again? I mean, not necessarily my type per se. You know, I mean, I could see how she's a model. People might find her to be attractive. She's certainly attractive enough to say something like, throw the Jews into the sea. If you're on that side of the argument, you can say stuff and get away with it, especially if you're attractive. Everything's easier if you're attractive. Believe me, I know. You know, I have all sorts of benefits for this incredible appearance here. And if you're on podcast, you might think, isn't that guy the fat guy from the Glenn Beck program? No, I look much better on television. So Bella Hadid has a level of attractiveness that allows her to easily say things like throw the Jews into the sea. And you don't need to be that good looking to be able to get away with saying throw the Jews into the sea. However, you have to be incredibly good looking to say something positive about Jews. That you have to be incredibly hot. So I ask you the paradox of the day here. Is Gal Gadot hot enough to say this? Because she's very attractive, but I think we have to cancel her here. I'm triggered. I don't know if she's allowed to get away with this. Let me give you the quote. You tell me. She says, "My heart breaks. My country is at war. I worry for my family and my friends. I worry for my people. This is a vicious cycle that has been going on for far too long. Israel deserves to live in a free and safe nation." Whoa. "Our neighbors deserve the same. I pray for the victims and their families. I pray for this unimaginable hostility to end. I pray for our leaders to find the solution so that we could live side by side in peace. I pray for better days." Now, as you can tell, it's incredibly offensive. Okay, that's a massively offensive comment. I mean, Israel deserves a safe nation? Are you kidding me? I mean, jeez, that's the most anti-Palestinian thing I've ever heard. But Gal Gadot's really hot. So can Gal Gadot get away with this? We will see. She's on the verge right now. She's about as hot as you can be. So if anyone can say something like Israel deserves not to be killed, I guess it's her. But you have to be incredibly attractive to get away with that sort of hate speech. You know, this is something that has been going on for a very long time. And it's something that it's hard to imagine. I mean, we certainly would not accept someone from, Edmonton lobbing missiles over our border. One missile would be enough, I promise you. The Edmonton Oilers would be no more after that. It would be, we would rain hell down on anyone who attempted it. The same thing goes for Mexico or anyone else. You fire missiles into our homeland? What are you talking about? Israel is expected to just accept this. I mean, look, you have to understand, they don't have missiles that are as good as Israel's missiles. They should just accept it. There's this idea in the Palestinian territory that Israel doesn't have a right to exist. And you could say, I don't know, you go back in history and find things you don't like that Israel did, and maybe you'd say, okay, well, you know what? Gosh darn it, I don't think they should exist. Maybe you even think that's a valid argument, like something coming from Ilhan Omar. But what's shocking about the media today is it seems like they expect Israel to agree with it. Like Israel itself should say, you know what? I don't think we should exist. That's the only acceptable opinion from Israel. Everything else seems to be the other way around. I can't come to any other conclusion other than the media is rooting for Israel to essentially root for its own destruction. And I got news for you, they're not going to do that.